Oh, hello, good evening to you. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live from news about this weekend, also live on TV and on Facebook. This is on 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, President Akufo-Addo descends heavily on former President John Dramani Mahama for his comments on balancing the justices on the bench. But the Ghana Bar Association is disassociating itself from portions of the president's reaction. There's more tonight on the president's speech at the 2023 Ghana Bar Conference. Also, contempt charges against the Electoral Commission looms as it is set for the limited voter registration exercise starting tomorrow, despite being hit by multiple lawsuits seeking to injunct the process. Tonight, we hear from the Electoral Commission and private citizens who are in court to stop the exercise. Also, Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, will have his day tomorrow before the bipartisan committee probing the leaked tape alleged to be a plot to have him removed. A number of things have happened in the past few days gone by with respect to this particular one. We'll hear from some security analysts on this particular development. And some are also questioning why this tomorrow's hearing where the IGP should be in camera. Well, that's what we're hearing. That's going to be in camera. It's not going to be broadcast live like the others that we have seen. We have a conversation on that tonight. As always, we're very, very interactive. Let's hear from you. The hashtag that we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
President Akufo-Addo has defended his fight against corruption, stating that despite accusations against his appointees, no convictions have been made. He put up the defense at the 23rd Bar Conference in Cape Coast.
I am not aware of any government in the Fourth Republic subjecting so many of its officials to such investigations and inquiries. At the same time, several officials of the previous Mahama administration, such as William Matthew Tevi and the Honorable Cassiel Atufosu, the minority leader in Parliament, are standing trial as we speak.
The minority in Parliament has been compelled to once again postpone its intended Occupy Bank of Ghana protest slated for Tuesday, September 12 to October 3, 2023. The NDC MPs have now agreed with the police on the routes.
In spite of the back and forth, we were able to agree on a new route and a new date. So now the protest is going to happen. We have agreed on a route that we believe will serve the purpose. In the end, we expect the governor himself to meet us somewhere determined by the route and obviously to take the petition from us.
A 9-member committee to investigate the explosion at the quarry site in Anto-Abosso in the Shama district of the Western region has been inaugurated. However, a local chief, Nana Fukweku, has expressed concern over the non-implementation of most committee reports.
Committee but we are recommendations were assemblyman or could be Siwa Anto. Those were two committee, Minerals Commission, all the security agencies in our assembly. Coordinating director the last time from the copy command. The way see negligence in accident and negligence of duty.
Committees are always set up after every unfortunate incident, but the recommendations are usually not implemented. This is pure negligence of duty.
The Electoral Commission says it has factored the concerns raised by some 5 political parties regarding the limited voters registration and has made arrangements to cater for them. Deputy Chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Bosman Asari, says this is not the first time the Commission is undertaking such an exercise at its district offices and that it will not deprive anyone from registering. Former President and National Democratic Congress flag bearer John Dramani Mahama has expressed concern over the Supreme Court's delay in scheduling a hearing for an injunction application filed by the NDC and 4 other political parties against the Electoral Commission on the limited voter registration. The Supreme Court was expected to have scheduled a hearing for the application within a few days of its filing, but it is yet to do so.
Well, there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, President Akufo-Addo descends heavily on our former president, John Mahama, for his comments on balancing the justices on the bench. But the Ghana Bar Association tonight itself is actually disassociating itself from portions of the president's speech and the reaction earlier today. We're going to get more of the president's speech at the 2023 Ghana Bar Conference. First off, let's just set the basis for this conversation and hear from the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, earlier today. President Akufo-Addo described the comments by the former president, John Mahama, suggesting the next NDC government will balance out the justice in the Supreme Court as unfortunate. According to the president, the concept as introduced by the flag bearer of the NDC is alien to the country and must serve as basis for a rejection of the NDC in the 2024 elections. Take a look.
Who has told the world that I have packed the courts with so-called MPP judges, and that one of the key purposes of a putative NDC victory in 2024 will be to enable him balance the courts with so-called NDC judges. Not only are these concepts of, quote, MPP and, quote, NDC judges new in our public discourse, they are also extremely dangerous and represent the most brazen attack on the independence of the judiciary by an allegedly responsible politician of the Fourth Republic. They provide another reason, if more were needed, why right-thinking citizens should ensure the defeat in 2024 of the man whom the first special prosecutor identified as government official #1 in the still unresolved airport Airbus bribery scandal. I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute my thoughts to this.
Well, so look, let's stay a bit further on this and what the president said there. You just heard in that video. Xavier Kujwe is a private legal practitioner and also the head of public affairs of the Ghana Bar Association. It is at the bar conference that the president made this statement that you just saw him making in that video. Lawyer Xavier Kujwe, thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. But first of all from you, aren't you concerned as Ghana Bar Association that over time we've seen the president, either the president or the attorney general, use your bar conference as a platform to get at political opponents? Is that what the Bar Association conference is for?
Alfred, thank you. Yes and no. No in the sense that in the past, I would say that things like that were not happening, especially last year. And to say that we offered our platform for the president to attack political opponents, to me, it's unfair because we just invite the president as a guest speaker. We did not, or we normally do not have, and never will ever have, an opportunity to write his speech. And I think that it is not in line with protocol to us an invited guest to submit his speech to be read at your function to be vetted. But regarding today's comment that the president made, relative to the condemnation of what President Mahama said in respect of the allegation regarding the packing of the bench by the current president with the people he described as MPP-inclined judges. I think that we will not fault the president for that because we had already condemned that same statement. But to go ahead and say that because of that and other reasons, citizens should reject him come 2024, we condemn that because we wouldn't like any politician to use our platform to campaign, because that amounted to political campaigning, in my view. And he also made reference to President Mahama being a perennial candidate. I don't know what he meant by that. But what he meant was that because President Mahama lost elections in 2016 and 2020, that I think that the current president equally can be described as a perennial candidate, because he also lost 2008 and 2012, and also lost some internal elections organized by his party. So by and large, it is not true. We will not agree that our platforms have been used by the current president to attack his political opponent. It just happens that he's a lawyer who had always been attending our conferences before he had become a president. So when he became president, we extended the invitation to him. And that's why his workload, he managed to attend every year.
Well,
this year,
I see, but you see, even though you are saying you don't have the benefit of seeing his speech, and so you can't predict what he's going to say, well, he said it, and as you indicated, this is not probably the first time we've seen this on your platform as Ghana Bar Association Bar Conference. And so you're saying that you are condemning the president for making that statement about John Mahama in 2024 and disassociating yourself as Ghana Bar Association. Is that what you're saying?
Of course. We wouldn't allow him to do politics on our platform. But if you remember last year, it was about the court. This year, President Mahama was alleged to have said certain things at Akosombo about the appointment being made by the current president along a political line. We condemned it. The president himself condemned it this morning. To my mind, he should have ended there. But to go ahead to urge well-meaning citizens of Ghana to reject him come 2024, I think to me that amounted to political campaigning.
I see. Well, but
which we will not encourage. We will not encourage that. For us, it's unacceptable. Yeah.
Anyway, but for many, all of this fits into that that assertion that the Ghana Bar Association is more like a puppet to this this administration. Would you fault people for thinking that way?
It is not true and cannot be true. Going by what I just said, that look, should any of the politicians who is vying to be president of this country becomes the president, that same person would preside over all the institutions of state, democratic institutions of state that we have, including the judiciary. So even if any of them go attacking the judiciary, that one will not allow it. That is why I said we even condemn what President Mahama said at Akosombo about the appointment of alleged appointment of MPP inclined judges by President Akufo-Addo. Before President Akufo-Addo himself even said it today. That one, we still stand by it. But for him to go ahead, based on the condemnation and other factors that he related, to say that come 2024, President Mahama should be rejected. We condemn that because our platform should not be served to campaign. That is what we are saying. So it cannot be said that we are puppets of the ruling government. We are nobody's puppet, and we will not be anybody's puppet. We are an independent association of lawyers, irrespective of the political affiliations that some of us may have.
Well, although the condemnation of this statement by the president, as well noted, even though it's coming after the fact, but then it's also for you, GBA, to put it on record that this is what you're doing, or condemning the president and disassociating yourself. But you see, even if for you as a Ghana Bar Association, you contest the idea of the perception of judges being on either side of the political divide, that's the reality that people have in their minds concerning the judiciary. And in fact, the National Security Minister at a point, Lawyer Koji, indicated that if rulings are going a certain way, it does not pose a very good picture for national security. So if as long as the president has the power to appoint judges to the Supreme Court or other courts, that perception will still be there, is it not?
It may never go away, but Alfred, anybody has the right to suspect. But we don't do things in a vacuum in this country. The appointments are done. There are procedures to be followed. And I can tell you the procedure didn't change because President Akufo-Addo is in power. And it's the same procedure that was observed by President Mahama that is being observed. Just that coincidentally, at this moment, or during the reign of President Akufo-Addo, many more judges ought to have to be replaced because some retired, a few others died, and recommendations are practically mostly made by the Judicial Council when there are vacancies. So this thing about political judges, I think that we should stop it because one way or the other, we all have votes. You don't vote for all the parties. You don't vote for all candidates for all the parties. You vote for one. So once you vote for one, is it the case that because you vote for one, that is your party? It may be that because of policy issues, you vote for us. Some of us are apolitical. We don't care. We look at the issues. So I think that let us not to try to extend our politicization of issues to the judiciary because that is our last line of defense, irrespective of our political affiliation.
Indeed. And lawyer Xavier Kuje, I thank you, Head of Public Affairs of the Ghana Bar Association. Maybe, you see, another conversation we can have at another time is that this whole provision of the Constitution that gives the power to the President to appoint the justices to the Superior Court should be reviewed. And maybe if that provision has outlived its purpose, because the judiciary is another arm of government on its own, and the executive and the legislature. The President doesn't appoint the Speaker of Parliament, who heads the legislative arm of government. So why appoint the Chief Justice who heads the judiciary and then expect independence? So these are issues. But take a look at this. This is what the provision of the Constitution, Article 144 of the 1992 Constitution says, that the Chief Justice shall be appointed by the President, acting in consultation with the Council of State and with the approval of Parliament. It goes on to say the other Supreme Court justices shall be appointed by the President, acting on the advice of the Judicial Council in consultation with the Council of State and with the approval of Parliament. And look at this as well. 144 of the 1992 Constitution. Justices of the Court of Appeal and of the High Court and chairmen of regional tribunals shall be appointed by the President, acting on the advice of the Judicial Council. So that's what you see there, the specific provisions of the Constitution relative to the power of appointment of the President, of the justices to the various levels of the courts in this country. Let's stay a bit further on the statement that the President made at this bar conference earlier today, because he said a number of things, quite apart from this one you just heard. Coming up next, President Akufo-Addo has also defended his fight against corruption, stating that despite accusations against his appointees, no convictions have been made. He put the defense at the 23rd bar conference earlier today in Cape Coast. Take a look.
I am not aware of any government in the Fourth Republic subjecting so many of its officials to such investigations and inquiries. At the same time, several officials of the previous Mahama administration, such as William Matthew Tevi and the Honorable Cassiel Atufosu, the minority leader in Parliament, are standing trial as we speak. None of the accountability institutions of state, including the new Office of Special Prosecutor, have ever indicated any pressure from the executive over their investigations. For them, the mere allegation without more is enough to merit condemnation of the public official. For my part, I will not set aside due process in the fight against corruption, no matter how much opprobrium this incurs for me.
Well, so as President, let's go on Zoom now. Mariada is Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, local chapter of Transparency International. Mary, thank you so much for staying up to join us here on Ghana Tonight. So that's the President there. Says his, anti-corruption record is unmatched since independence. He's put bold initiatives that have been taken since independence to reform and strengthen institutions to tackle corruption in the public sector. Is this a reality of the situation in terms of the fight against corruption on the ground, from your lenses and as an anti-corruption crusader?
Thank you very much, Alfred. I am struggling to appreciate the statements of the president. I say so because I do not know what evidence the president is using to make these assertions. Admittedly, we would say that each government since independence has done something in the fight against corruption. However, the success rate of these initiatives would be what we should all be interrogating. And for us in the Ghana Integrity Initiative, when we talk about success markers, we are looking at evidence from research, both perception and experiences. And when you look at public sector referencing specifically, we are talking about the Corruption Perception Index, which interrogates the relationship of business people and various stakeholders when it comes to issues around corruption in the public sector. So our reference point is
Okay. Mary, I'm losing you a bit, right? So if you could reposition and so we can have a better connection of you. You were questioning the president's data, the basis on which he makes this strong point about his fight against corruption in this country being unmatched since independence. Yes. Why do you question the president on that?
We know that since independence, various governments have, as a matter of fact, put in place various initiatives in this regard.
Okay.
We know corruption was criminalized in Ghana as far back as 1960 at 29. The same year we had the Procedure Act, that's also in the same year, Act 29 and Act 30. So you can then begin to say that somebody has done more. And if you look at the documentation or chronicling the various fights against corruption, which was documented when the Shraj compiled our efforts thus far, you would realize that various governments have put in place different initiatives to fight corruption. For the president to tell us that he is the most successful in implementing very strategic initiatives or the most robust ones, then he should show us by evidence, because evidence is the evidence is the one we are looking for. And for us, when we talk about evidence, we are talking about CPI, which is the Corruption Perception Index. And the Corruption Perception Index since 2014 has been stagnating. We had 48 in 2014. We continue to, if you look at this government, looking at around 2017 onwards, we've made very significant dips. In 2017, it was 40, and then we went to 41 in 2018, 41 2019, 43 in 2020, 43 in 2021, and 43 in 2022. So that alone tells you a picture of the fight against corruption when it comes to the CPI. And also for the various experiential surveys we have carried out in the past, you would also see that citizens' trust in government's fight against corruption is one that has waned. The Afrobarometer talks about from a 70-something% to a 30-something%. And again, let me say that in all of this, we are not discounting the fact that people or the president has put in place some initiatives. And so when government continues and the president continues to thwart its efforts, he should come with the evidence to support that. Then we all agree that he is indeed fighting corruption by word and not by word and deed, and not just the rhetoric. We have an RTI legislation where citizens are supposed to report to receive information. Is it working as we should? And so some of these make it very difficult for some of us to appreciate the fact that this government and the president's government is the one which has fought corruption more rigorously than any other. What parameters are they judging themselves by? How many prosecutions have they made? How many investigations have come out conclusively that we can attest to that we have fought corruption? Because when we are talking about this, we are talking about what has happened, how effectively we have fought corruption, and how many prosecutions we've been able to accomplish to ensure that we are deterring the people of Ghana, particularly in the public sector, from engaging in behaviors that are corrupt. Let me land by indicating that one of the critical laws that civil society and then SHRAJ has looked at in the recent past, since 2013, is the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which we call the COPU. And this government has had more opportunity to pass this bill into a law than any other. And in the last parliament, it ended in parliament, went through the first reading. I'm not sure if it also did the second. But then you realize that it did not get passed. And as we speak, today the president is indicating that he has directed the Attorney General. That is good to know, because it took the IMF to put it as one of the clauses or the requirements to secure the IMF deal before government has come out to say this. And so we do not, anyway, we are not saying the president has not done anything, but for him to say he has done the best. And this COPO bill is for public service to criminalize instances of conflict of interest, to also make some administrative conducts also criminal, and then to ensure that asset declaration and also disqualification, we say asset and liabilities of public officers, are taken care of. And we should have a law that serves as a best practice, if not for Africa, but for the globe, or meets the various best practice examples that already exist.
I see. Right on. Mary, appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much for a comprehensive response to the president's position on the fight against corruption. Mary Ada is Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, a local chapter of Transparency International. Stay with us here. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, contempt charges against the Electoral Commission looms as it is set for the limited voter registration exercise starting tomorrow, despite being hit by multiple lawsuits seeking to injunct the process. Tonight, we hear from the Electoral Commission and private citizens who are in court to stop the Electoral Commission. And just before we came, the Electoral Commission has issued a statement about what's going to be happening tomorrow, regardless of these court cases in the injunction seeking to stop it from doing so. This is dated today, 11 September 2023 voter registration exercise. The Electoral Commission is informing the general public that the exercise begins tomorrow, 12 September, and ends on Monday, 2nd October. Registration takes place at all the 268 district offices of the Electoral Commission, 268 district offices. And persons who have attained the age of 18, goes on and on since the last registration exercise, and those who, for one reason or the other, did not register in 2020 should visit the district offices and where they reside with either their Ghana card or their Ghana passport. Eligible applicants who do not possess any of the identification documents listed above are required to present 2 persons who are already registered voters to guarantee their registration. It's saying that it's a criminal offense for non-Ghanaians, that's foreigners and persons who are not 18 years and above, minors, to attempt to register. The emphasis is on the second paragraph of this EC statement, that people who have turned 18 years or couldn't register before 2020 elections should visit the district office where they reside. The emphasis on where they reside. There are some private citizens who are in court because the district office of the Electoral Commission is not at where they reside. We'll get to that. But the Deputy Chair of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Bosman Asari, has been speaking about the preparations towards the exercise tomorrow. Take a look.
let me say good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. The Electoral Commission is fully prepared. As we speak now, all our 268 district offices are ready. The people who are going to go through the training, the people who are going to go through the registration, all of them have been trained. So currently we are set for tomorrow. So tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., we expect that nationwide a very significant number of the people who will show up in all our various offices would have gone through the process successfully. And the beauty of our process is that instantly when you register, you are getting your voter's card, which you are going to use to vote come December 19 for the district level elections and subsequently for the 2024 elections.
So Dr. Bosman has also been responding to the pending lawsuits against the Electoral Commission ahead of the exercise tomorrow. Take a listen.
I need to check with our lawyers. I've been on the field doing a lot of checks regarding the readiness of our offices for the registration exercise. And although I've not engaged our lawyers, I think what we've heard in the public domain has to do with the fact that the 5 political parties want the EC to extend the registration to the electoral areas. And as a listening institution, the EC is so very, very much concerned about ensuring that all people who are qualified also register as voters. So we are beginning the exercise tomorrow. If it demands that we make some tweakings, some changes here and there, the Electoral Commission is ready to do that. We shouldn't forget that this is the commission that in 2020, in less than 40 days, we registered about 17 million people in the whole of West Africa, with the exception of Cape Verde. Cape Verde's population is like the Medina Adenta enclave. They have less than 600,000 people, and they have over 55% on their voters roll. With the exception of that country, Ghana, in West Africa, we have done over 17 million, representing almost 55%. So if there is an institution that is committed to ensuring that the citizens register those who are qualified, is the Electoral Commission. So as I speak to you now, when we hear that people are saying the EC is going to disenfranchise some people, I find it very, very strange, because our district offices are well equipped. For each district, we have registration teams, and each district is capable of an average of about 300 people per day, and we are looking at 21 days. Although we concede that some places are far away from the district offices, what we are saying is that this is not the first time we are registering at the district offices.
Well, the EC is conceding that indeed there are places that are far from the district offices. Well, there are 2 private citizens who dragged the Electoral Commission to court concerning this exercise beginning tomorrow. 2 of them. And one of them actually gave a clear distance of her residence and the EC district office where she lives. Take a look. Well, but you know, Google Map actually gives you the shortest distance to wherever. So if you look at this person is at Pram Pram. Actually lives in Afienya, and the EC district office is at Pram Pram. And over 44 kilometers, as a matter of fact, depending on the route that you're using. And then also we got some of you sending us messages from, for instance, if Bole to Bamboy, it's about almost over 100 kilometers as well. Well, 2 people are in court on this matter with respect to distance. Nick Papo Samoa Ado is private legal practitioner and counsel for one of the 2 private citizens who have dragged the Electoral Commission to court on this. That's specifically Precious. Nick Papo Samoa Ado is joining us on Zoom. Lawyer Nick Papo, thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. So the EC has been served. This your injunction to you against the limited exercise tomorrow. EC has been served, correct?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Excellent. So they have been served. I wanted to find out, for purposes of clarity, I didn't hear the portion of Bosman Asari's comment when it came to what he says his lawyers have told him. Could you repeat that for me? playback, but you tell me.
Yes, essentially he says that yet to check with their lawyers, because we asked a specific question about your suit, and he says that he's now going to check with the lawyers whether they have it or not.
Very good. So, you see, they set a clear precedent, which is actually what the law is, that when you are served with any process from the court, and so you remember in the case of Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, he served the EC with a copy of his writ and a copy of his injunction application.
True.
Do you recall what the EC said? The EC said they were not going to conduct the presidential primaries of the NDC and until and unless the NDC resolved the issue of the injunction application or the court ruled on same.
Okay.
So they stayed their hand. Now, I can confirm to you that the EC was served on Friday with the originating motion on human rights and the, what do you call it, and the injunction application, which is scheduled for the 16th of October, to be heard on the 16th of October. So they are aware. Now, when you spoke to him, I continuously asked a simple question. Is Bosman Asari saying that on advice of his lawyers, okay, even though he has been served with an injunction application and an originating process, he will still proceed? Up until now, I hadn't received any official word. This evening, we have received a copy of, or we've read a copy of the EC communique.
Yes.
Which is that they intend to leave tomorrow.
They're going ahead. I just read that.
They'll go ahead tomorrow.
Yes.
Very good. So my client has clearly instructed us that we should take all available legal steps to stop them and to hold them accountable. Because you see, the legal process is very simple. When you are served with any process, such as an injunction, and you do anything that seeks to undermine that process before it is heard, you are in contempt of court. And that is why the EC, in the Duffuor case, refrained from going ahead with holding or conducting the NDC primaries until the NDC and Dr. Duffuor resolved the matter, and Dr. Duffuor withdrew the injunction motion. We haven't withdrawn the injunction motion. And so, as it is, by the statement that they have issued, the EC is telling us that despite the pendency of the injunction application, they will still proceed. So I can inform you that based on the instructions of our client, tomorrow morning, we will be serving Jean Mensah, Mr. Bosman Asari, and one other EC chairperson with processes of contempt of court. And it will be done tomorrow morning. So when they are served with that one thing, then they can tell us that they can still proceed when they have been served with contempt proceedings. So we are quite clear in our mind that I can tell you on authority this evening that we have prepared the processes, and tomorrow morning they will be served with the contempt processes. So this thing is not anything we are leaving to chance at all. We are determined that no one, and remember, no one or institution is above the law.
Okay,
so if they believe that they have a constitutional mandate to exercise in respect of the registration of voters, we are also telling them that once they have been served with the court process, they have to wait until the court has determined that process before they can proceed or otherwise.
So it is on this tangent that you are citing the Electoral Commission for contempt, which you say you're
citing the Electoral Commissioner, Mr. Bosman, and one other for contempt.
So that's Jean Mensah and Bosman Asari and one other.
Yes.
Those are the people you are citing in this contempt case.
Correct. Correct.
And you're going to serve them tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
Now, if the process starts at 8 a.m. before you serve them, what will be the consequential effect?
Well, that will be for them to determine. If up till now they claim that lawyers have advised them that despite the fact that they've been served with the originating motion for human rights, they have been served with the injunction application, the advice they are receiving is that they can still continue. We'll add a third one to it, which is the contempt application, and then let them continue. And in the contempt application, we are telling the court that based on their own precedent, this is not, see, the difference is that it's not as if you are not aware. So we've served you with the motion, We've served you with the originating motion. We've served you with the injunction. We have a precedent because you yourself in a previous process have what? Have elected to comply by waiting for that process to be determined. So your own proud behavior, you cannot come and claim ignorance. So we are determined to ensure that we hold them accountable. So we can tell Mr. Bosman Asari that we are not joking. If indeed he believes that he's above the law, I'm sorry, the court processes will be made to work. We will hold him accountable and we'll hold Jimesa accountable.
So this precedence you are going to court on is actually the EC's own conduct.
Thank you.
Okay. Nick Babo, thank you for your time on Ghana Tonight. Tomorrow we'll look out for it. Okay, and appreciate you as always. Nick Babo Samuado is private legal practitioner, and you heard it here on Ghana Tonight. The breaking news is that the Electoral Commission has been cited for contempt, and they will be served. If I say they, the Commissioner, Bosman Asari, and one other will be served tomorrow by the lawyers of Precious, one of two private citizens who sought to injunct the limited voter registration exercise process beginning tomorrow. So stay with us here on TV3 and across all media journal platforms. We'll be updating you on this matter every step of the way. But former president and the NDC flag bearer for the 2024 general elections, John Mahama, also had a few things to say. Take a look at this. On his Facebook page, he posted earlier that contrary to the time-honored practice of the Registrar of the Supreme Court giving dates for applications to be moved, the registrar has, as of this afternoon, refused to provide a date for the application for the interlocutory injunction filed against the Electoral Commission in relation to the Commission's decision to limit the upcoming voter registration exercise to its district offices only. The writ and the injunction application were duly filed at the registry of the Supreme Court on Thursday, 7 September at 2:50 p.m. The Chief Justice returned and traveled to Cape Coast for the bar conference. As I write, the applicants' representatives are still waiting at the registry of the Supreme Court. So that's what it says. This is unprecedented and does not augur well for the public confidence in the justice delivery system. That's it. Coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, we go straight into matters relating to the explosion over the weekend. A 9-member committee has been set up to investigate the explosion at the quarry site in the Anto-Aboso area in the Shama district of the Western region. They've been inaugurated. However, a local chief, Nana Afo Kweku, is expressing concern over the non-implementation of these committee reports. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
When you have the extra bit of ambition in your heart, you also need extra bit of energy to come through. And for that, Rush Energy is the perfect boost to get over the line. Created in the USA and proudly made in Ghana. Thanks to the unique formula, you have the power of ginseng, the benefit of vitamins and all the energy of inositol, taurine and caffeine. Anytime you need to go beyond, Rush Energy will help you get there.
wins the Ultimate Energy Personality of the Year at the 7th edition of your prestigious Ghana Energy Awards. Under the theme, Ghana's Energy Transition Framework, sector institutions as building block for the 2030 to 2040 target. You can nominate yourself or an institution for categories such as CEO of the Year, Energy Investment Impact Award, Energy Signature Award, Endorsement, Validation, Industry Partners, Media Partners. TV3 Ghana Energy Awards, 7 years of redefining excellence.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful Endpoint one?
Chesena mi ankasa me period na se problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo medro a me fire no ene ma won kra mienu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba
head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko endpoint o mama no nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's endpoint for you.
Of Acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, ohwehwe what che?
Okay.
A free bra wo di endpoint wa dance am me call you no me Johnson se man enkoyie and person na my nyina na magina sebema na me be fie for there the one nyina jaresa.
You heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
Get ready for another cultural explosion like never before. On 21st September, Africa will witness an ultimate celebration of African diversity and flavor at the 3FM Afro Connect event. This is the place to experience the magic of African arts and creativity. You also get to unite in a sizzling jollof war competition, igniting a culinary showdown. Will Cote d'Ivoire hold the jollof war title? So whether you're passionate about food, art, games, or simply making new connections, 3FM Afro Connect event on the 21st of September is the place to be. Venue, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. To sell, call 053-220-0927. 3FM Afro Connect, connecting Africa and beyond.
Brought to you by 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio. The 3FM Afro Connect is proudly sponsored by
No, stop it, don't do it. No, please stop it. No.
I poisoned him.
I'm a drug addict.
The difference between a sinner and a saint is that the saint has a past and the sinner a future. There is a shoulder that does not discriminate, an ear that listens without a mouth, and a heart that listens with empathy. Here on Confessions, we believe that everyone has a story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And together with my seasoned guest, we make the conversation relevant for our lives today and the lessons therein. Confessions, the safe haven for all your secrets.
Confessions shows on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by
Welcome back to Ghana Tonight. Before we get into the explosion and matters arising, let's go do this. Coming up next, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufo-Dampare, will have his day tomorrow before the bipartisan committee probing the leaked tape alleged to be a plot to have him removed. Well, so what we do know, at least for now, based on certain reports quoting the chair of this 7-member committee, Samuel Atachia, we have information that tomorrow's hearings with the IGP involved will be done in camera, meaning that it will not be broadcast live, like in the case of Superintendent Asari, and then also Superintendent JB, and then also COP Alex Mensah. So we're not going to have the benefit of saying that. And it is this in-camera option that there's been some reaction to it. And we've been talking to some experts on this. And Dr. Ishmael Norman is a security analyst. And Doc, what exactly is your concern about this in-camera hearings? Why?
National security than the security of the people of Ghana to believe that their police service is working for them. Security in security studies is defined both as an objective security, the sense of feeling safe, and subjective security, the sense of being safe. So when you are talking about security, national security, for me, it's hogwash. If they go ahead with the in-camera hearing, which I'm totally opposed to it, what's going to happen is that you will have your version of what really happened behind closed doors, and I will have my version. That will feed into conspiracy theory. That will feed into denial of due process to so many people who may be affected by that narrative that they're going to do in camera. What is it that they're going to talk about that we can already infer from what has been said publicly? So I believe that that in-camera conversation should be cut out. We should hear everything publicly. All Ayawaso West Wagon, we heard everything. Ejura, we heard everything. What are they hiding? What is so special about the police that they have to go behind closed doors? This is for the benefit of a few elements within the police, and we must hear all of it. All of it.
I see. Well, that's Dr. Ishmael Norman raising serious concerns about this in-camera. His view is that it must be made public. We should hear all of it. There are national security concerns underlying the reason why this in-camera option is even there in the first place. But lawyer Bobby Banson, private legal practitioner, help us understand why this in-camera option is actually even being considered in this case, even though Dr. Ishmael Norman does not agree with the reasons why they should be in camera. Lawyer.
I agree that I subscribe to the school of thought that, in fact, every aspect of this hearing should have been in camera, because we are dealing with public confidence in the Ghana Police Service. If the people on the streets lose confidence in the hierarchy of police and say that they do not even respect authority, the chain of command is broken, can you imagine the impact it will have on the morale of the lower ranked officers? But if everything was held in camera, whatever findings that the parliament arrive at or they're able to come by, they will do the recommendation to the necessary state entity, either the executive, the police council, or the council of state. Then they will take those steps. But the constitution states that if there is anything that information that arises in the course of any hearing that is of the opinion that it is of national security nature, it is the Supreme Court that has the jurisdiction, I think, to determine that matter. And so I think on the face of it, these are matters that should have been held in camera. But if the parliamentarians think that, okay, part of it for the purposes of satisfying public curiosity should be in public, the other part in camera, then it rather, heightens the curiosity at, okay, what is it that we are not hearing? But at the end of the day, they know what they have heard. I mean, the parliamentarians, they know the steps that they are going to take. I believe that I don't know what their end game is. Like I said, I do not think they have enforcement powers over the Ghana Police Service. But whatever it is, the Ghana Police Service should be reformed after this episode. And this, what I may call a scandal. Okay.
Bobby Bansing is private legal practitioner. Thank you for your thoughts on this. Tomorrow is another day to watch. We'll see how things play out at this seven-member committee probing the IGP leak tape and other matters arising. Coming up next, a 9-member committee to investigate the explosion at the quarry site in the Anto Aboso, this is in the Shama district of the Western region, has been inaugurated. However, as a local chief, Nana Afo Kweku was raised concern over the non-implementation of most of the committee reports. See, we've been on this path before after the explosion at the PRT, also in the Western region. A committee was established. This happened on the 20th of January 2022. After the committee's recommendations, we don't know, or we haven't seen the details of the PRT report. But not to remind anybody of the pain, but take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Durumoko.
On Thursday, 20th January 2022, Ghanaians woke up to an unfortunate incident of an explosion here at Apiati in the Prisia Hunibale district of the Western region, which led to the loss of life of about 17 residents, rendering several people homeless.
Sad tale. That's the whole town raised to zero because of that explosion last year. And then we've seen this explosion as well, where communities where this incident happened, houses developing cracks, some actually raised to ground zero. Now, lawyer Theophilus Jemega has specialty in mining law, joining us on Zoom. Thank you for your time here on Ghana Tonight. This vicious cycle we see ourselves. Another committee has been established in this instance. To what end? Lawyer.
I guess so. Reason being that when committees are set up and they present reports or they come up with recommendations, it's supposed to be made public and lessons learned and steps taken so that to forestall similar occurrence in the future. But in our situation, we had a report, we had a committee, they prepared a report, presented it to the minister. That was the end. The contents, nobody knew. The recommendations and lessons, nobody knew. So I guess we haven't learned any lessons from what happened previously. So we are going to have another report. A committee has been formed. They'll come up with a report with recommendations. And perhaps there'll be no lessons to be learned again. And it appears to me that in the Apiati one, we might have focused on the transportation of explosives. Suffice it to say that even we currently have very large tankers getting spoiled by the roadside fuel tankers, and there's nothing to prevent a possible explosion. So having focused on transportation, now we have a situation of perhaps storage or usage of explosives on a mine site or a quarry site. Now, if we go and solve that, then there will be one at a production site. Then we are going to solve that. But the mining laws of Ghana are one of the robust in the world. Let's be fair to ourselves and to the mining community. So it beggars belief to find out these accidents happen and are happening each time. Perhaps we got to the stage where we need to believe that one life lost is too many.
In this case, we are hearing that the company hasn't even been licensed to engage in the activity. So can the families of the persons who have lost their lives and then the affected families also take this company on?
Sue the company in question. Let me give a bit of education here. The company was engaged in industrial minerals. Industrial minerals are things like clay, clinker, granite, which is what they are using for the quarry. And the licensing regime for industrial minerals is a bit different. You need to show that you'll be able to invest $10 million within the operation, and within a year, you'll be able to spend $10,000. Now, if you have such a license and you go in league with a Ghanaian so as to evade or do something wrong, like a Ghanaian should front for you, the license will be taken from you. So I will
I'll say that at this juncture, it is unlikely that the company really exists any longer. The company may be for just the people who might have died. So it will be difficult in the instance to be able to hold the company responsible. However, we are aware that the company is different from the persons who might have died.
Theophilus Jimaga, thank you. It's a private legal practitioner with specialty in mining. Appreciate your time and your thoughts here on Ghana Tonight. This is a conversation that's not ending today. Have a lot more of it in the coming days. On behalf of the team, thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. And I am Alfred Ocansey. Join us same time tomorrow. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior. This program is rated PG. It contains scenes of brief nudity, mild violence, and strong language. Parental guidance is advised. Brought to you by
MTN DES Shower Gel.